Welcome everyone to our week 6 hangout for our CMOOC. Great to see a few people here this morning joining us, and we just got a little bit of technical issues with one of the links, but they're getting their audio going. So this morning we have with us Claudio, who's part of our C-flat team. We have Lisa, also part of our C-flat team. We have Shen, and we have, great to see you, Shen. We've got a bit of a team here from Nelson. So we've got Paul, Divine, Renita, and Chingai. And they're just getting their audio going. So they can hear us, but we can't hear them yet. But I'm sure they'll be on board soon. So I thought what we'd do is just do a little bit of an intro to what are we looking at for week 6, and particularly what is the specialisation section of a CMOOC portfolio. So just to give you a broad overview, and then just to discuss in the group here of what each person thinks their specialisation section might be and include, and get a little bit of feedback from each other as to how we might be able to, look at what is a specialisation and what would be appropriate to put into your portfolio. So I'm just going to go into a little bit of screen sharing here and share my screen, present to everyone. There we go. So this is our WordPress blog, which has the outline of each part of our CMOOC. We're up to week 6, so we have 1 week left. So 7 weeks, and we're up to week 6. So this week we're looking at choosing a specialisation. So this is one of the final elements of your CMOOC portfolio, and I guess for me it was the most exciting part because it was a place where you could really show and highlight what you do that's perhaps a little bit different to anyone else, and give you the opportunity to really shine and talk about something that really interests you and excites you as far as technology enhanced learning goes. So it's really about you, about what is your specialisation, what do you do that's a bit different to everyone else, how do you do it differently, and how does that how do you bring that back into the community that you're working in. So the key elements of this section, there's 4 key elements here. You can see it's about a commitment to exploring and understanding the interplay between technology and learning, and that goes across all the sections. It's not about the technology per se, it's about how it's being used for teaching and learning. So that integration with teaching and learning is the key, and reflecting on that. Second thing is, how do you keep up to date with new technology? So within your specialisation, how do you keep up to date? Because technology changes so rapidly. Thirdly, it's having an empathy and willingness to learn from your colleagues. And so I think part of that is about working in teams, being able to communicate, be able to collaborate, learn from other people as well. So you can learn from other people's specializations or add to them. And finally, a commitment to communicate and disseminate effective practice. In other words, how do you go beyond perhaps what you do face-to-face to get a broader audience for your specialisation, and how you could perhaps get that out to other people and get feedback from them as well. So that's very broadly the key elements of the specialisation section. So it's about providing evidence of what you do and then reflecting upon it. So that reflection is part of the key. So just as a reminder, we have our Google Plus discussion forum where we're really keen to get people to share and post links and feedback and discuss. And you can see there's an example there that I just took very quickly with Hayden. He's one of our paramedic lecturers earlier in the week, and he's a first-year paramedic lecturer, and so he's been a professional paramedic for quite a while, and he's used Twitter. So he's found that quite powerful as a way of finding resources for his own practice, but also of being part of a global community. So he's sort of discussing and thinking through in this little video that we shot of how he could perhaps apply that to his teaching practice and to his students, and getting them to think about developing professional networks. The other thing is our global map is ever expanding, and we've got 965 views of it so far, which is pretty cool, and we're getting a few more names on that map. Great to see most of the people that are on the Hangout are on that map today. And then finally, just a reminder to share examples of your portfolio elements on our Project Bank site. So just a reminder to do that. You can see that we've got a few examples there. We've got 3 examples of choosing a specialisation, but it'd be great to have a few more if people are willing to share what they think their specialisation might be and to get some feedback. So that's kind of the lightning overview. And also, while we're getting Nelson, I think are actually online as far as their audio goes now. So I'll stop talking and screen sharing, and let's have a discussion. So Nelson, are you all going now? Yes, I can hear Anita. Yes.
Hi Tom, I think we are, but through my phone we have audio.
Oh, okay, that's clever. So you're sort of a dual channels.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's also part of the thing around technology is being able to troubleshoot, and when it goes wrong, how do you get it working?
Always have a backup plan.
Yeah, so I can see you there twice, Paul. So Paul signed in on his phone, and Shingai's signed in into the main system. So great to have you guys on board.
Great use of technology, Nelson.
So I thought I'd start from the left of my screen, and so Claudio's there. Claudio, so what do you think your specialisation might be? Have you actually done this part of your portfolio yet? And if not, where do you think you'd start?
So can you hear me all right?
Yes.
I guess the default will be to explore the background I have in terms of environmental education and how technology enhanced learning complemented with environmental education can be brought together, obviously, and take that as my specialization. I haven't done much progress, I have to admit, but I've been working in the space of merging technology and environmental education for a few years now. And because of that, I also have been obviously pushed to update practice through new technologies. Originally, I did my PhD on the use of websites 2.0 for environmental education. Since then, I've moved into the mobile learning area using mobile devices, and more recently, new technologies, immersive technologies such as augmented, virtual and mixed realities. So I believe I have some experience in using different technologies in that domain and different case studies. And I see that as my focus for the specialization.
Yeah, and from what I've seen, because we've presented together a couple of times, is that it's something that's quite different that people aren't particularly used to within the field of sustainability and environmental education, because they tend to view technology as part of the problem rather than part of the solution. So how do you think you go about trying to change that mindset?
Thanks for bringing that up. Yes, that's the main tension in the field. The mainstream views are to see technology as the cause of one of the cause of the sustainability environmental problems we have. In particular, the disconnecting people to nature. Environmental education is all about reconnecting to nature, and having a screen in between us and nature can present some problems to some views. So I see technology as a driver, as a platform to reconnect people to nature. I admit there are some instances where you do need to have the screen in front of you to achieve that, but the idea is to have technology as a medium rather than an end goal in terms of reconnecting with nature. And we've done it before in some cases where through technology you prompt people to revisit nature without technology once you are out there. But it's all about shaping technology systems with the key values that prompt people to achieve that. So there is a lot of pre-development work required and a lot of design thinking required in terms of achieving that. The key thing is the values that you bring into the platform. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where you can really make your specialisation quite unique, is reflecting on those issues, because they are big issues and they come up all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Any questions or any feedback from anyone else to Claudio? Not at this stage. Okay, so let's move on to Lisa. Lisa, what do you think your specialisation might be in your portfolio?
I thought you were going left to right. Starting the other end
Oh,
now.
on my screen, your screen might be different.
I'm last on my screen, so I was getting myself prepared. Okay, so when Tom asked me for my specialisation, well, immediately I said, well, sign language and cheesecakes. But really, specialisation in my working career, I think where I come from is in the kind of the training area. I'm in the learning technologies group, the Centre for Learning and Teaching. So we help look after the learning management system and also other technologies associated with it. But I see probably one of my specialisations is the ability to help train staff and to make it easy for them to learn the technology that they're going to be using in their teaching, for them to transfer those skills over to the students. Also, just recently we've been running a number of workshops for academic staff where we talk about the why, the when, the who, the what are you going to use before you actually go ahead and use it, and what tool could be appropriate in your teaching. So I'm kind of trying to keep ahead of technology. There are a lot of tools that academic staff can use, and it's trying to find the right one for them, for the actual subject or the learning outcomes or what they're trying to achieve for their students. So it's trying to keep ahead of that breast for them, and recommend ones that might either be AUT supported, or maybe something like Google Communities, Google Hangouts for collaboration for students. It's trying to find the right tool for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I see a lot of overlap between what you do and the hangout we had last night with the UK with Ian Upton.
Right.
I don't know if you've watched that yet, but I think it'd be useful for you to watch. And Ian does a lot of work around what he calls a light bites, I guess, sort of a workshop series as such, but he tries not to make it into a workshop, try to make it much more interactive and participant-centered. And we were just knocking around the idea of maybe he could even do like a webinar series of light bites, and
that'd be a good idea.
Something that you could even collaborate with him on.
Excellent, love to.
Yeah. So Shen.
Sorry, I have a quick question for Lisa.
Sure, go Claudio. Question away.
I wonder, because you train people, you deal with people all the time. If part of your portfolio should be to present, to capture their feedback.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
How do you deal with them?
So what I do is it's not only visual and listening to what they say, but it's also, if they send me any emails, I'll file those, but it's also how they present the training that I've presented to them, to students. Mm-hmm. And then students can pick up what the lecturer has taught them. And then that will probably come back to me via the tutor saying, this was really good. Our students picked up this particular technology really well. Can we do a follow-up, a couple of months down the track, just to make sure that all the students are happy with what they're doing. And there are a range of learning styles with the students, so we have to kind of cater for everything for them. So I do video clips as well as documentation, and trying to make it as simple as I can.
No, I think part of the key there is having
feedback,
a bit of a trail and evidence of that. So just sort of thinking forward of capturing that, so you can put that into your portfolio.
Yep. Thanks, Claudia.
Good question.
Good idea.
Thanks.
Okay,
thanks,
so
Tom.
Shen.
All right. I thought I was on the last in the queue. But I think I want to come back to your original question, Tom, about the resistance from the teaching staff. And I think one way of dealing with that is, like what Lisa said, making things easier for them to accept. And I think also making sure the tool that we recommend to them is a good match to what they need, because that's very important. We don't want to, give them a big, big tool when it's a what you need is really a small, screwdriver. Anyway, so it's a good match that is very important. The key for making sure lectures, the tool is helping them rather than making them creating more workload for them. And the other thing, I think for me, coming from a very technical background, I have the computer science background. Anyway, by the way, I work with in the same team as Lisa, so we do, yeah, we do similar things. And I do a lot of training with Lisa, and I learn a lot from her as well. And I think for me, I have very technical background. I did computer science as my degree. And I think the understanding of the technology is very important as well, because if the tool doesn't work very well, then we should make it work better. So with a bit of a background on that, we do a lot of work with lectures from the back end as well, like we have the big house faculty use competence-based assessments, and everything is about learning outcomes. And there is a big barrier in terms of when they do the marking and how they finalize the students' grades. And we do something called rubric analysis in the back end for them. It's at the moment it's not a tool that lecturer can use because it's still, the requirements is always quite complicated, and we need a bit of human intervention to get the report ready. But with our capability and skill, we managed to provide the end results to the lecturers, to what they need. So yeah, I think that's something that we want to keep working on, and possibly making it more available for lecturers by creating a little tool that they can use to do the rubric analysis. I guess that's where I want to come from. I want to so with our role, I think there are kind of I see our role as a bridge between the technology and the teaching staff. So one way is making sure that the skill that we have is passed on to the lecturers, so they understand how to use the tools. And the other is possibly making the tool is more user friendly to support the lecturers, making it easier for them to use the tool.
That's great, Shen. Thanks for sharing that.
I might just add to that, Shen, is also making sure that the tool doesn't rule what they're trying to achieve. Yeah, try and find something to fit them, not. I think we've lost Tom. Here's Tom. Hang on.
Yeah, hello. Well, for some reason, my connection dropped off. So yeah, I don't know what happened there, but it completely lost me, and I assume it's still going because you're all connected. And I'm not. Yeah. So anyway, we must be on to Nelson.
Just before going to Nelson, Shen, how do you keep with the new technologies? How do you keep up to date?
Thank you, Claudia. Well, it's a hard question to answer. I think it's always very hard to keep up with the new technology because it develops so fast. But I think what we're trying to do is to be involved in the user groups. We have the ABUG, what we call it, that's Australia New Zealand user group that for Blackboard that we are part of, so we can talk to other people, see what they have discovered, what are the new features that they are interested in, and what are the new things that they're doing with their teaching staff and other universities. And I think also with talking to a lot of lecturers, it makes us think a lot about how can we make their life easier, and by discovering their questions, by understanding their questions, we probably need to do a lot of research with what is available out there that could help lecturers.
Great.
You want to add?
Sorry, Shen and I are actually sharing a headset because Tom's on mine now. So we're just playing a bit of musical chairs here. Okay, a couple of things that I'm also on. Yeah, thanks, Tom. I'm also on the a user group called the TEL Network, which is the Teacher Enhanced Learning Network, and there are some good conversations coming through there about different software or tools that people are using. And in the last couple of years, I've actually been on a MOOC called the 12 Apps of Christmas, and they do 12 apps over 12 days. So I've managed to pull out a couple of apps from the MOOC and been able to show people those particular apps that might be helpful to them.
Cool.
Excellent.
Well, let's move on to Nelson. So we've got Paul, Renita, and Shingai there. If you want to just
Turn it off.
let us know what you think your specializations might be.
Specializations.
Come on, Paul.
Well, so we work like yourselves. We tend to work in the same office.
Yeah.
And so we are more and more, I think, taking a team approach. We quite often talk as a team, like really informally, like, hey, I need to do this thing. Has anybody got any ideas? And we have, one person in particular in the office. I'll say Alan.
Alan, yeah.
He's always
first finger on the pulse.
He's always pushing the boundaries out further, and is always just looking, how can we do this better? And I think in terms of almost everything we do,